if I told you that almost every post that you see on social media, every ad that comes on your feed, and even what you believe in and care about is not being chosen by you, it's being chosen for you. Not only that, it's being chosen by something that you can't even see, an all-powerful, all-knowing force known as the algorithm. It's not some distant sci-fi fantasy thing, it's silently running in the background of everything that we do in our daily lives. Okay, now that I got the fear-mongering out of the way, I want to talk today about algorithms in general and how we consume content. I feel like there is a lot of fear about social media right now, and for good reason. Social media is literally a drug. It's habit forming, it creates dependence, and a lot of people try to stop, but they are just not able to. And that is honestly pretty concerning. Like, can you imagine if there was a physical substance that everyone in America was addicted to, everyone had 24/7 access to it, and people just did it for hours on end? That would be a public health epidemic. But because this is something that's not physical, it's an algorithm, we just kind of let it consume our lives. Now, I'm not at all saying social media is bad. I'm not at all saying that neural networks are bad or anything like that. But in today's video, I want to just talk about how these algorithms actually work. And I want to share with you a framework that I've been using the last couple of weeks that, I'm not kidding, have changed the way that I use social media. I also have doom scrolled for hours on end, but using this 3-step framework, it sounds really dumb, but I've been able to greatly reduce my screen time without doing all the stupid screen time restrictions. And so you can probably imagine my joy when I was exploring through GitHub repositories the other day, and I came across this repository called the algorithm. This is something that we have never seen on GitHub before. Like all these websites like TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook that use these content recommendation algorithms, it is a black box. No one has any access besides the employees to know how they work. And so in 2023, Twitter actually open sourced the recommendation algorithm, or at least part of it. And we're able to see a lot of the inner workings about how it works and what type of content it prioritizes. And so that's what I want to do today. I explored the algorithm, I read a lot of articles about how it works, and I went to the code myself to try to understand a little bit about how it works. Obviously, it's like millions of lines of code, so I didn't read everything, but I got a good understanding of it. So let's do this. So what is the algorithm? At its simplest, I think it is a recommendation engine. Like, think about it as a digital librarian whose only job is to give you content that you're most likely to like and engage with. It does not care what the content is about. It does not care about the truth claims of the content. It cares about if you are going to interact with the content. And so if you're watching this video, there's a high likelihood that you came from this digital librarian, and for whatever reason, I thought that you would be likely to interact with this video. And you definitely should. You should like and subscribe and comment and stuff. That'd be cool. But to give some appreciation to this algorithm, to this digital librarian, I have some notes here about the amount of content that's uploaded daily to these different platforms. So X, formerly known as Twitter, has to filter through 500 million tweets per day. YouTube users upload over 500 hours of content every minute. And then obviously Facebook and Instagram host billions of pictures and videos every single day. There is a train outside. I don't think you can hear it. I think it should be fine. So is social media pretty toxic? It totally is. But at the same time, I have some mad respect for how sophisticated these algorithms are, that out of this infinite data, it's able to give me content that I genuinely enjoy watching. And that's not inherently a bad thing. So what does the algorithm exactly do? Basically, it's building a dynamic, constantly evolving profile of you. It tracks every single little bit of data that it possibly can on you. It tracks what posts you like. It tracks what posts you comment on. It tracks how many seconds you spend on each of the posts. It tracks who your friends are, what type of content they're interacting with, through a neural network of millions of neurons to give you the best content that it can. And we can actually see in the source code of the algorithm that this neural network literally has tens of millions of different neurons that it's processing. If you don't know what a neural network is, it's basically like an artificial brain. It's obviously not as sophisticated as a human brain, but it functions the same way that we kind of do. You give it a goal and you give it a lot of data, and eventually it will figure it out. And so these neural networks have had petabytes and petabytes of data to be trained on, and so they are very good at what they do. Now, when I was looking at the GitHub repository, I found that there are two main sources that you get your content from on your feed: in-network content and out-of-network content. The in-network content is pretty simple. It takes the people that you follow or your friends or whatever, and it'll rank all of those posts that they are making based on how recently they post, how often you interact with their stuff, how close of friends you are with them, and it shows you the ones that you're most likely to interact with from your friends. Now, the out-of-network content is a little bit different. For the out-of-network content, it does two main things. The first thing that it does is it looks at what type of content all of your friends are liking. So for example, on Instagram Reels, you have your normal feed, but then you can go to that feed that says what my friends are watching or whatever it says. And so that's one part of out-of-network content, but the other part is called SIM clusters. Now, these are a little bit more abstract, but they are incredibly powerful. Basically, what it does is that it maps every single user of the platform with every single piece of content. It's basically this unimaginably large map. And so the closer that 2 points on this map are, the more likely they are to be the same type of person, and they're more likely to interact with the same type of content. And so say, for example, that you like content about video games. You like and comment and interact with a lot of posts that have to do with video games. The algorithm from this huge map will look at other points close to you and identify people that are the most similar to you. From there, it'll take the content that is similar and it will recommend recommend it to you. That's a broad oversimplification, but it gets the general point across. Now, this is a good thing in general because it allows you to find niche creators
like me,
and you'll find new content that you resonate with and that you enjoy watching. But as we'll see in a little bit, this can also lead to a lot of unintended consequences. So I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible, but the next thing that it does after taking the out-of-network content and the in-network content is that it ranks all those into a huge list. Each of these posts is listed as a candidate, as in it's a candidate to be shown to more people. Again, according to my notes here, each of these candidates is shown to around 1,500 accounts, and based on how those 1,500 accounts interact with the content, it will then be shown to more people if it performs well. I wasn't able to find this in the code, but according to an article that I read about this repository on the Twitter recommendation platform, it has about 48 million parameters that it's actively tracking to see how you interact with it. And based on those 48 million parameters, you basically get a score. And if your score is high enough, the algorithm will push your content to more people. And if it's not high enough, it will just die and no one will ever see it. And that leads us to step 3 of the algorithm, which is just filtering. So that whole ranking process is like 95% of the work, but there are some filters as well that are applied afterwards. Like say for example that you got sick of seeing House of Highlight tweets on your feed, and so you blocked the account. Even if the algorithm thinks that you're super likely to interact with the House of Highlights post, it will block that from your feed since you have blacklisted that account. Also, depending on the platform, they'll have some filters about the type of content that you can post. Like if there's nudity or profanity, it can recognize that and take down the video from being seen, even if it thinks it's going to be shown to a lot of people. But this is a pretty minor step compared to everything else that's going on. And so then the fourth and final step, it's known as like the mixing and serving step. It doesn't just show you that list of ranked posts that I mentioned earlier from top to bottom. It tries to weave different things like ads and trending topics onto your page. And it also tries to split up the highest ranking posts so that you're more engaged to keep scrolling. And the craziest thing is that this entire process happens millions of times, literally every second. Like this isn't just some Python script that's running on your computer that's going to take like 3 minutes to run. There are supercomputers constantly processing and constantly updating the neural networks, giving you what you're most likely to interact with. And it does this all completely autonomously. Again, and so the data scientist in me is just extremely impressed by this. Like obviously this technology can be used for good or for evil, but it is technically impressive how they're able to do this on every major social media platform. So now that we have a pretty thorough understanding about how this works from a bird's eye level, I want to go in just to a little bit about the implications of all of this and like what it actually means for you and for me. Obviously there are literally limitless implications, but here's some of the biggest ones that I have found in my personal life. Number 1, personal bias and echo chambers. Like I mentioned before, the algorithm is going to show you content to people that are very similar to you. This is good because it'll show you communities that you are most likely to find belonging with, which is a great thing. But also, not every community has your best interest in mind. I am not going to be showing different communities that show that the earth is round, even though that is true, and the belief of that truth is better for society as a whole, because you're less likely to interact with that type of content. Obviously, this has very big implications for things like politics and political activism and political extremism, and your beliefs are never able to be challenged in a healthy way. They just get reinforced by confirmation bias. Obviously, a second big implication is our mental health and our attention span. This algorithm is a literal master about capturing our attention and keeping us engaged. Something that definitely keeps me engaged when I'm on social media is seeing my friends and family who have everything perfect in their life. They're married, they have kids, they make lots of money, and that leads to me comparing myself to them, which if you've experienced before, you know is bad for your mental health. And along with that, when these algorithms are so good about giving us content that we like, our attention spans become so small. We become so dependent on these dopamine hits that we're getting just by scrolling, which makes it a lot harder to carry out sometimes the more boring and mundane tasks that we need to in our day-to-day life. And last, and maybe most importantly, is the privacy/data risk. Like I mentioned before, these algorithms are tracking every single thing that they can about you so that they can make better predictions about what type of content you're going to watch. And so when these really big social media companies know everything about you and all this information about you is left at their sole discretion. They can sell it if they want, they can protect it if they want, or they cannot protect it, as we saw with the T app. This wasn't just some password breach where you had to change a couple of your passwords. There were real human beings being doxxed because of their location metadata on the photos that they uploaded to T. And like, that's just not a digital safety concern. That is a physical safety concern. There's not really anything we can do. There's not really any solution I have for this implication, but it is something to be aware of. Okay, and that leads us to our fifth and final portion of this video. What can we actually do about this? I don't want to just outline a problem and make you feel hopeless about life. I want to actually provide a solution about something that can change the way that you use social media, because it's changed the way that I use social media. And so there's this framework that I discovered for using technology that has really helped me take control of my social media habits. And it's a 3Ps of technology: purpose, plan, and pause. So first, purpose. Something that I've started doing is that before I use technology, I just take like half a second to ask myself, why am I using technology right now? Or even better, if I'm going on social media, I ask myself, why am I going on social media right now? Like, this seems super simple, but it's a complete paradigm shift about the way that you use social media and technology. Like, instead of just opening TikTok, for example, you can make a conscious effort to try to achieve something while you're using social media, as opposed to just mindlessly scrolling. And so these are the two questions that you should ask yourself. Why am I using my device right now? And number two, do I feel good about what I'm doing? If you don't feel good about what you're doing, you should probably find something else to do instead. The second P is is plan. As I've said 3,000 times in this video, the algorithm is meant to keep you scrolling for forever. And so if you make a vague plan, this is not going to work. You need to make an intentional plan in the same way that you need to make an intentional plan if you're trying to lose weight or if you're trying to cook more at home or something like that. In this plan, you need to set clear goals and boundaries about when you're going to use technology and when you're not going to use technology. And so, for example, something that I started doing is that I stopped using my phone as the first thing that I do when I wake up. I think so many people just wake up and then you go on social media right away to get a quick dopamine hit. Literally like a drug addict. But some other example boundaries that you can set is that you don't use your phone in the bathroom. You don't use your phone in the bedroom. Or maybe you use your phone, but you don't use social media in those places. You can set daily limits. You can use the different filtering functions on social media. Basically, you make a proactive plan to try to make your social media time as less toxic as possible and very productive instead. And then the third P is pause and take a break. Do you remember when we all played Wii Sports back in the day and it had like that big screen that said, why not take a break? And it showed like that flowing window outside and it showed putting the Wii remote down on the table instead. I think that's a pretty good idea. I think the same can be said for social media. Sometimes you'll find yourself, because I sure do this, where even though I try to find purpose in my technology use and I try to make a plan, I'll sometimes still fall into old habits. And so something that has helped me when I've done that is to learn just to pause. Literally take 5 seconds, put your phone down, and just don't think about anything. It's a little mindfulness trick that I've done that's helped me just detach from social media and get rid of the dopamine hook in my head. And so 2 steps that I have found that have helped me to take a pause and take a break when I found myself slipping up is 1, put my phone down and realize that I am in control of the situation. And 2, talk to a real person, preferably face to face if you can. A lot of the times I realize I just go on social media because I'm bored and I'm just wanting to get some sort of stimulation or connection with someone. And so talking to a real person face to face about literally anything kind of removes my desire to go on social media at all. And so those were the 3 P's: purpose, plan, pause. I highly recommend them if you want to try to improve your social media usage. There's a link for more information down below. So thank you if you made it this far in the video. If you found this helpful, it actually really helps if you press the like button and if you subscribe. And maybe you share this video with someone who is also going through something similar to you, where they're having a hard time regulating their social media usage. I'm by no means perfect at this, but in the last few months, I have definitely improved by like 80%. And that last 20%, I'm still working on. All right, I think that's it. Bye.